Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the stream. So happy to be with everybody again. I really apologize for the long hiatus. Um, Really rough summer for me. My son left home to study, and I still feel also feel proud of him, but still feel pretty sad. Um, yeah, very happy that I didn't write as much as I could, so I could spend time with him when he was a kid. It's worth it now. Anyways, so um, little spicy topic today, but I think super important. And what I want each of you to take away is that, well, if you're at the bottom end of the scale that I'm going to tell you about, you're a hero. Just the fact that you write is a massive achievement, because as the little ball here says, there's nothing for you except the joy and pleasure of writing. And believe me, I understand, like, before coming to ESEG, this is, so the first 20 years of my career, that was it. That was it. Like, nothing. Okay? A little exception for my PhD, where I got lucky, but that was it. So you're a hero. And if you publish anything, anything peer-reviewed, you're amazing. If you publish in a US journal, you're a superstar. And if you publish anything, in ABS4 or above, let alone a top journal, man, you are effing superhuman, and you should be so proud of yourself, like, really, because you know you have nothing, right? But let's start with what people on the top end have, okay? And what people on the top end have is amazing amount of help, an amazing amount of help. And there are two types of help that I saw when I was at MIT that, really mattered. One is that people in, I would say, the top 15 US universities and a couple of European universities like London Business School and INSEAD, they go on present to other schools. They get invited to present their research in other schools, and the research that they present is things that they are currently working on, just on the cusp of submitting to a journal. And I have sat in many of these presentations during my PhD at MIT, and I tell you, the quality of feedback is insane. Imagine you get the best reviewer you have ever gotten for a paper, generous but tough, exceptionally knowledgeable about the literature, sitting for an hour listening to you, and then spending half an hour giving you comments. Now, when I was at Sloan, this was multiplied at least by 7. Okay? At least by 7. So people regularly publishing at the very, very top, in the top sociology journals, ASR, AJS, Administrative Science Quarterly, everything. They sit in a room and they listen to you quietly, present your research for an hour, and they give you feedback. I have only exceptionally rarely, in the 25 years that I've been publishing, read review letters, and for example, I just reviewed for ASR, the best journal in my field. and I saw the letters from the other reviewers, rarely seen feedback of this quality. Now imagine that before you submit your paper, you get to do this 7 times. So you present for 7 hours to 35 to 42 people, and you get 4 hours of feedback. That's what we're talking about. And that's only half of the story. So just think about it, like, I was in Portugal in a teaching school. At most I could do, if I paid out of my own pocket, I could like do a 12-minute presentation at Egos or the Academy. 12 minutes, where the people in the room were people that were also presenting and never asked a question or made a comment. Okay, because I was not important enough. I was just some guy from Portugal. Okay, so that is the difference, and that is why if you have nothing, if you're like me, or if you're in even worse position than I was, if you're an adjunct professor, which are most of the overwhelming majority, at least 3-to-1 people teaching in our business schools, you are a hero, because imagine what you could do with this level of help. Okay, but there's something else. Okay, that's just a first thing. So have a friend, well, not a friend, a colleague from my PhD. He finished a year after. His name is Sinan Aral, and he's a genius. Like, he's the only person I met, like really smart people, but that you'd see, okay, they're smarter than me, but we're sort of like in the same ballpark. Sinan was a genius, was and is a genius. Now, Sinan just published a study, and he posted about it on LinkedIn, so you can check it out. So he has data on 20 million people for 5 years, 2 billion new connections, and 600,000 new jobs. This is the data for a paper that he published recently. Okay? And how did he get this data? Well, he got LinkedIn to perform social experiments on their users, on 20 million users. He's not getting data from LinkedIn. That would be amazing already. He's getting LinkedIn to change the algorithm. I'm explaining it in a very simple way. It's not exactly this, but getting LinkedIn to change the algorithm so that Sinan, can carry this experiment. Okay? That is what being at MIT, that is what being at Harvard, that is what being at Stanford gets you. You get LinkedIn to do a social experiment for you. Right? Obviously, this doesn't publish itself, but, okay? But I personally also benefited enormously from being at MIT while I was a PhD student there. Actually, I think like the only thing that I got from MIT was that I got access to my research site, and I collected amazing data. Now, let me underscore that Sinan is brilliant. So I'm not saying that, this is just he's sitting at MIT and getting all this data. But what I would say is that if, for example, for family reasons, Sinan was, from Portugal or Spain or a South American country, and they, for family reasons, to be with their partner and eventually their children, they had to go back. They would still be a genius. They would still be on another level, but this would not happen. This would not happen. So you get people that serve on editorial boards of the top journals in your field reviewing your paper 10 times a year. Or not 10 times a year because you don't go every other year, but 10 times for every paper that you present. And you get this. Okay? This is what we're talking about. So if you were like me in a teaching school in Portugal and get nothing, is it the same for me to publish in Org Science and for Sinan to publish in Org Science? Is it the same? Should I think that I'm worthless because I can't publish in Org Science? And look at the types of data that are getting into ASQ and Org Science and MJ and whatever your journal is. Okay? Just think about it. Okay? And let me just quickly open up a parenthesis on meritocracy. So obviously, Sinan is... actually, let me drop meritocracy to the end. Okay, so second level. This is the level that I am now at IESEG, is money. Okay? What do I mean? Basically that your school gives you money to do your research. Okay? Why does this matter? Because there are simply fields where you need money to get data, right? You cannot get data without money. For example, if you're in marketing or in consumer behavior, you need to run experiments. I'm the director of research for my school, and I know how much every experiment costs because I'm approving that, I'm managing that budget. And I will tell you that a single paper can cost as much as my entire yearly salary when I was in Portugal. Entire yearly salary when I was in Portugal, when I had nothing. Okay? So you just cannot do this. So if you just cannot do this and you're in marketing and you're in consumer behavior, what do you do? Well, you need to write theory and you need to be creative, and you can publish a paper with in a top journal with a small amount of data. So, for example, I was just telling you I reviewed for ISR a paper with just 35 interviews. And ISR is, I mean, I never published in ISR. I'd love to. It's a really difficult journal. But the quality of the analytical work of the authors of that paper, the paper with 35 interviews, is miles beyond what I read in the marketing pieces or with experiments, right? And that's not because people that write marketing pieces with experiments are less intelligent or less capable. No, it's just that, they don't have to compensate for their weak data. So they just don't have to do it, right? And they probably would be able to do it if they had to, but the likelihood that a paper with 35 interviews will get rejected is way higher than a paper like I have, where MIT paid me to do fieldwork for a year and a half. I had money to do fieldwork for a year and a half. It was just a salary, but it was a salary that allowed me to do that. Right? So if you don't have money, if you cannot get the data, and even if you do qualitative research, I mean, for example, in my school, we pay people to transcribe interviews for our faculty. Each hour of interview takes 60 hours to transcribe. So even a small study like the one I was telling you about is 210 hours just of transcription. So you could just write another paper on 210 hours, right? So your productivity is higher, right? Because you can write more papers. And the level of challenge for writing each paper is lower because it is easier to publish. And I speak against myself because also my papers have amazing data, right? It's easier to publish a paper with amazing data than a paper with bad data or weaker data. As simple as that, right? So if you have money versus you have nothing, right? If you have nothing and you publish in the same journals that these people publish in, you're a superstar, right? But if you have money, you don't have this. So you cannot get LinkedIn to run experiments. You can get, you run experiments on mTurk or Prolific, but obviously, a journal will be, and I've said that over and over in my videos. Data matters, right? Data matters a lot for publication, right? So even with money, you're already disadvantaged against these people. Moreover, you're not like the first time your research gets seriously reviewed, because research does not get seriously reviewed in conferences. Forget about it. The first time your research gets seriously reviewed is when you submit it. These people get 10 rounds of review before they submit. 10 rounds of review before they submit. Also, in some institutions with money, such as my own, you get training on how to write and develop papers, and you get mentorship, paid mentors that help you with your paper. So it's not as good as this, but still pretty good, okay? So if you have nothing, you're not playing, these people are not playing the same game that these people are. They're not, they're not. Because they don't have anybody to review their papers for them, and they don't have the ability to access exceptional data. They have access to good data, but not exceptional data. So already these people are heroes, but it's a different game. It's a different game, right? It's like, you go to a Formula One race and you take your Ferrari. There are videos of this on the internet. You don't stand a chance. You're on the track and you're driving a car, but no matter how much talent you have, you're not going to get it, right? You're not going to get there. They're going to lap you 10 times, right? But you're on the same track, so you're on the same journals. Now, top schools in smaller countries, like when I was at Nova in Portugal, they have money for conferences, so you can go and present in conferences. Now, conferences, I don't know. My experience of feedback in conferences is pretty bad. So yeah, but conferences do give you one thing, which is they give you access to co-authors. Okay? And you may get access to, if you're good at networking, with these people. These people forget it. Like, you're not in the same ballgame, but you can get access to some of the resources that these people have. Okay, so maybe you have some data, and these people can help you get more data. Maybe something that happened to me. So I used to co-author with people at IESEG when I was in Portugal. So they had data, but I was here, right? So whatever I published, I had to be like super creative with really weak data. So when I got like really good data, so have a paper on the European Journal of Information Systems that is with my co-authors' data, well, I can pull off something better, right? So that's what conferences are for. You can get to network with these people, and if are good at coming up with ideas, or sometimes, it happened to me one time that in a conference, a very senior researcher in my field gave me leftover data, very good leftover data, but leftover data, and what I have to tell you is leftover data is really difficult to work with, so I eventually passed on that opportunity, but the opportunity was there. if I wanted. At the time, I was just carrying my MS quarterly papers, so I had a bigger fish to fry. Let's say, but conferences are good, right? And conferences cost money, and many people, most of the people don't have money to attend conferences. Okay? And then there are people with nothing, right? So this was me for many years. You don't have money for data, you don't have money for conferences, you don't have, people don't talk to you at conferences because you're like from Portugal, right? And there's a lot of that in academia, right? I definitely felt that when I was at MIT. Lots of people came and talked to me in conferences. When I left MIT, nobody came to talk to me in conferences, right? And so, what I want to tell you is what should you do here, and I think that you won't be surprised with the answer. Okay. The answer is look for compelling phenomena. Look for compelling phenomena that you can collect data without spending a lot of money, and then build a small group of people where you can present. What you want to do is you want to simulate this. So, and I had a small group of people in Portugal. There were four of us that we presented one another. None of them were trained in top universities, but I still got a lot of good feedback. Not on details, but on is this compelling? Does this come across? And try to volunteer to present your data in whatever schools there are around you. Just ask, can I do a seminar in your school? Try to organize, if you can, small seminars where you just need a schoolroom. So basically the idea is just try to present your research in a seminar format as often as possible, even if it's people that you don't think that are really aligned with your research. At least many of the criticisms that I have in reviews for my papers are like really big things. The small things, I mean, it's training, right? So you can learn it. What I would like to tell you is this as well. If you're in this position, if you're in a school that gives you nothing, or if you're an adjunct in one of these schools, please reach personally to me and I will do my best to help you. I have data. I'm happy to mentor. I'm happy to train. It's just me. I'm not super famous, but I have published in top journals from nothing. So I'll at least do my best to help you out. Please get in touch. Other than getting in touch with me, again, the advice is, to put it simply, do qualitative research. Good quantitative data is difficult to find on the chip. So do qualitative research and focus on interesting phenomena. One of the most interesting papers that I read recently is from somebody who studied the applications around application cloud around things like Uber and Deliveroo in Indonesia. So you can be in Indonesia, okay, and there's something really unique and really interesting happening around you, okay? Really take advantage of this. Something that can also help you is master's thesis. Sometimes master's thesis students will have access to great data just because of the company they work on. So again, focus on getting high quality, qualitative data, and then try to create groups or events where you can present your paper in a seminar format. What I mean by a seminar format is that people listen to you for 45 minutes and then they are expected to give you feedback on the paper. Okay? And also, if you are writing here and publishing, you are way above this. I wonder if some of my colleagues would even have the that are here at MIT and Stanford and Harvard would even have the motivation to write if they were here. Would even have the motivation to write if they were here. Okay? Where you're not promoted based on your research. Nobody cares about research. You don't have money for anything. And nobody wants to co-author with you. Okay? If they do, it's out of charity. All right. Now, last thing I want to tell you about is meritocracy. And what you can tell me is, well, but the best people are here, the worst people are here. Well, Peter Senge wrote a book called The Fifth Discipline, where he has he talks about several archetypes that explain social phenomena, and one of these archetypes is success to the successful. And in that archetype, basically states that your starting conditions really impact how successful you are, and some of your initial successes may be more due to luck than to performance and merit. Okay, so definitely there are people like Sinan that are brilliant and are in places like this out of merit, but there are people that are in places like this not entirely out of merit. I know a very senior professor in one of the top 5 business schools in the US who always places their students in top schools. So he makes a call and gets a student that is okay in a top 10 school. Okay? And many of these students, they struggle in these top schools, but they do have 6 years in this circuit of help, of amazing data, and of amazing reviews. So what ends up happening is they go into this more at the high end of the money institutions. So they're still set up for their career. I personally had an advisor who cared 0 about me and my career and my research. And you can tell me, well, you deserve it, you're stupid. Maybe, but I know of many people that had stupid students that did care about them, and they ended up here. I ended up here. Okay? I ended up here. Now, the merit of my research performance is I attribute it to my data that I got because I was at MIT and I was able to get money to spend a year and a half collecting this data. But I still had to publish it without this, without mentors, without training, without reviews. Okay? So, conclusion. Formula One car, old beater from the 1970s that you inherited for your grandfather, but you're in the same track. Okay? Just the fact that you are writing here makes you a superhero. Many of these people would not have the motivation to write if they were here. Right? And then the question is, what would they do with the crappy data that we have when we're here? What do they do? Well, maybe the same thing, maybe not. I don't know. Okay. But just the takeaway is we're not playing the same game. Don't compare yourself with people that are running Formula One cars. And if you still want, I won't say to win the race because you're not going to win the race, but if you want to finish a lap, if you want to feel proud of the lap that you've done, collect qualitative data in your context that is interesting. There's always interesting stuff happening around and unique things happening in different countries, in different cities, in different communities, in different businesses, and build a group that you can present to in seminar form. Again, I'm here for everybody, adjuncts, people in different countries, people with less resources. And I see you, and I see your love for this job that we do, this writing that we do, and I appreciate you. Okay, so keep at it. Good luck, everybody.